Hello and welcome to the Trekle Trunk, where
Hello.
we will be reviewing the first half of the countdown to the Day of Blood and
Indeed.
IDW's current Star Trek comics. We will be reviewing Star Trek Defiant number 3, Star
Mm-hmm.
Trek numbers 7 and 8. Well, let me just show you. I have them here. We have Defiant number 3.
Nice cover.
So we're not going to talk about that one first. First, we're going to talk about Star Trek number 7 for Dave's sake, because I didn't let him read that one. Star Trek number
I've been
8.
living
Look
in
at that.
suspense all this time.
I know. Look at that handsome
Oh,
Tailor.
I really like that cover.
That's going on the wall.
Garrett, I'll bet you Garrett made that outfit as well.
It's sharp. I like it. Of course he did. He didn't trust anyone else's Taylorism. There could be microphones or whatever.
Latest Lysepian colors.
And then we will be reviewing Star Trek Annual 2023.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to kick her off. So I tried to sabotage Dave's. Well, we should say who we are. We are your hosts, Dave and Davan, playing a.k.a. playing Simple Tailors, and your Locutors of Trek. So yeah, I made Dave read 3 of these 4 comics and one of them out of order by accident. So hopefully we can increase his enjoyment here tonight.
Like Patsy Cline's
well,
say, right?
So Dave's getting reviewed, updated.
So yeah, this is our unofficial first live reaction video to a comic book.
It is, isn't it? Okay, yeah. Cool.
I'll make sure to have a lot of going on.
So I'm sorry I did that to you because this is a really good issue. Star Trek number 7.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. It's got good cover.
Any opening thoughts before we get into it on where the story has been up to this point?
Well, the story's really building steam through these issues.
Agreed.
It's picking up. I really like the sense of urgency and acceleration here. As well as the really clear sense that they're pulling threads together toward a climax. But it's obvious they're still holding something back, and I'm really curious to see what that is.
Right? There's another shoe that needs to drop here.
I really feel like there is. I feel like it's on the Cisco side, but I fear that it might be on the Worf side.
I fear that as well.
If it's on the Worf side, it's going to be a disaster.
So let's start with Star Trek 7 and 8, written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, with art by Mike Fian. And I really love Mike Fian's art. The art in this is fantastic. The way he gets
he really has a beautiful attention to face and expression.
Yep, really does.
It's a fidelity I really enjoy in this.
Star Trek number 7. So Dave, this is the issue we've been.
My initial thoughts. No, anyway.
This is where Benjamin finally meets little Sarah.
Look at that.
He's just like, "Hello, Sarah. I'm Ben. My name is Ben. I'm your dad." And she's just like, "Hello." Very cute.
So she's what, 3.5 at this point, something like that?
How long has he been gone? Yeah, something like that, eh? Yeah, she seems like 3.5. She seems slightly older than Edith, I would say. Yeah. So yeah, he's cleared his schedule to, reunite with his family, as you can imagine, which was the thing we were missing. The thing I didn't really think that was.
And you comment on the
nugget that was holding me back. Yeah, I didn't like that. That just got thrown to the side, and for the sake of this story, and I'm just like, that's not what Ben would do. Like, regardless of what was happening, as soon as the Saratoga was back at the station, he would be there, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot. And then, Morn's doing well at the Dabo table by the looks of things there. Very good.
We don't get a little view of Latty, do we?
No, Latty. No. Oh, I should look a little more closely, but no. But there are some fun nods in this story. So, the Quark's serving Data and Beverly at Quark's bar, of course. And Beverly's being a little persnickety with him, and Quark's is like, that's what you people in Starfleet don't understand. Spending money is fun. Well, Well, because he was like gonna buy her drinks because he was flirting with Beverly, and she's just like, "Well, spending money's fun. Then I can buy my own drinks." Like he's just like, what does he say? Never a redhead for Quark. He says.
Wonderful callback to, I think, one of my favorite scenes in the pilot of DS9 is that moment when she says, "If you don't take that hand off my hip, you will never serve a drink with it again." I love a woman in uniform, he says. It establishes so much about both characters. It's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. So then we meet up with Cisco and Kira, and they're having a chat about the orb of destruction, and how Kahless has turned it into a deadly weapon. And so Kira seems to be having a little bit of a, I wouldn't say crisis of faith, but she mentions how she's never seen the prophets be so cruel as they are currently in this sending Ben on this mission of sort of destruction. He's trying to stop genocides and stuff, but like he's not too happy with it either, and we'll get into that in some of these issues coming up. But then look who comes through the door for a special mission. Oh, I'm so happy.
Shax.
Lieutenant Shax, junior grade. Footing on.
So this is again. Assignment. So we're somewhere in the middle of the year 2178 right now, right?
Yes,
this is 3 years after Cisco's disappeared.
In like 3 years before Lower Decks kicks off.
Precisely.
This like
so Shax is either on loan from the Cerritos.
He says he is. He's on temporary reassignment from the Cerritos.
Okay, right on.
Yeah,
because I didn't know how long he's been
for a while. Quite a while, it would seem. Okay. But he did work his way up as lieutenant junior grade to be head of security. So
yeah, but that means he may well have been on the Cerritos through the Dominion War. If a ship like that would have seen action in it, or whether it would have been assigned to other duties.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if they sent those Cali classes in the battle with their, illogical engineering sections or not. But
oh my gosh. Can you imagine that subject to a Tholian weapon?
Oh,
two halves of Cali ships just flying everywhere.
And neither of them can get away.
Shooting for
Two halves and none of them can run. So Cisco's got a baseball game he wants to take everybody to, of course. And then he's talking to so he gets a lot of the best things in some of these issues are these like side pages.
Oh, they're great. The sidebars are wonderful.
Yeah, they really
so much context.
This one's a special report, Starfleet Task Force, for the reacquisition of Bajoran artifacts and antiquities, which is Shax is taking the lead on. So he was supposed to tell Cisco where the locations of the 10 orbs of the prophets are.
Right.
And he can't even get the names of 4 of them. Like, but
because I know it's established in the DS9 pilot that the Bajorans have 1 orb of the prophets.
No, they have a few.
9 of them, right?
Oh, at the
they
start,
have at least 1, but the Cardassians have at least 9 of them.
Well, that's what Shax ends up saying to Cisco is he would bet anything that the 4 missing ones are still in the hands of the Cardassians.
Makes sense.
So that's where they head to Cardassia after that. And it's funny. He's like, "Are you asking?" He asks him about those missing pieces, and he's just like, "Are you asking as my captain or as the emissary?" And he's like, "Look, Shax, if you're gonna serve with me, you have to square yourself with the complex idea that I'm asking is both."
That's a yes to that or question.
Yeah. He just immediately,
as a classic scholar who loves Greek literature, that is my favorite answer to an or question. It's confounding, but it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great, eh?
He said, this or that? Yes.
And like, what I love about this is Shax still talks like Shax, like he's still kind of outrageous, but it still fits in perfectly. I love this comic does a lot of work in like tying together all these different approaches to Star Trek. Because he's just like, I would bet my best trigger fingers that those missing orbs are still in the hands of the like bastards who stole them. He's like, yeah. he's talking about the Cardassians. He's like, they act like, and you've got an Earth term for it. Not my monkeys, not my problem. It's very fun.
I really like Shax as a character. He's a great addition to the whole pantheon of Star Trek security.
But
chiefs.
he's like, they still make him like so huge. Like, look how big he is compared to Cisco.
Oh my god, he's enormous.
Everyone just calls him Big Guy all the time in these comics.
He's like the size of Worf, really.
Yeah, or bigger. He's taller than Worf.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so then some ensigns are going into the holodeck, and they invite Tom Paris to go along because they're like, "Hey, let's do your spaceman one." And he's like, "It's Captain Proton, and they don't have that at Quarks because I made it." And he's like, "But I got stuff to do," and he's just like, "Have fun without me." But he's like sad. He's like, "I used to be the fun guy, and now I'm just gonna." But then he walks in on Scotty and Ensign Sato, the Andorian, which we get more context on later, having some drinks. And he says, "Tom Paris, you look like a wet dog." And she's just like, "And as a junior officer, I do not endorse that statement." But they're drinking it up. And then Jake runs into Talir, the Vulcan, or is he? Something's going on with Talir here. And like Jake's just like, Talir, you don't act like other Vulcans. And he's just like, "Have you met many Vulcans?" And Jake's is like, "Well, enough to know that like they don't enjoy walking aimlessly or talking or have like the jazz to handle what Q was throwing at us in that previous issue." And he's just like, but Jake's like, "I'm your friend, just tell me," or whatever. And he's like, "What's up?" And he says, "Well, then as a friend, please refrain from this line of questioning in the future. Regardless of your instincts, I must insist that you believe me and take my word as final when I tell you I am Talir, a Vulcan of Starfleet." But like, isn't that like the long-winded way of saying I'm definitely not a Vulcan? Like, what's going on there?
Yes.
Like,
oh my
never
god.
ask me again. I'm a Vulcan. It's just like, well, then I have to ask you again because you're not a Vulcan. Like, what? Like,
that's insane. Wouldn't he have just given a wry Vulcan remark about the questionable qualities of human parentage? Or even the questionable qualities of Jake's own parentage as human. His dad is half who knows what. Right? We've never explored that part of Jake at all, which is an interesting thought.
True. He's like quarter prophet.
Right? Who knows what that guy might
be
capable of.
No one ever talks
if the prophets will it, right? But maybe it's another part of what Kira would experience as their cruelty or their sort of their sense of being very choosy about where they want to interact, that he doesn't. But yeah, I feel like Talir, I get a bit of a there's something definitely hidden in him. Maybe he's a secret one of those guys that loves the emotions. I forget, like Spock's brother was.
One of those guys. You think he's a Vulcan, just sort of an outcasty kind of Vulcan?
Maybe he is. Maybe. I mean, of course, the obvious go-to suspicion is he's a Romulan.
That's what I thought at first. But then after reading one of these other issues, I don't think he's a Romulan. I think it's weirder and deeper than that. But we'll get there.
Interesting.
So then, Tom's holding court with Sato and Scotty, reminiscing about the good old days in the Delta Quadrant.
Those would be. The stories for a Delta Quadrant ship would be the space stories nobody could top, really, right?
Oh yeah.
That time I was in the here he goes about the Delta Quadrant. Yeah. It's like, what is that Norm Macdonald joke about the guy who's been to the moon? I love that one.
He's like, I used to be the drink tonight because tomorrow we die guy. And he's like, if I'm not him, he's like, he doesn't know who he is. And then Scotty's like, quotes, "Time expands, then contracts, all in tune with the stirrings of the heart." And then that's when Sato says, "Was that Haruki Murakami?" And he goes, "I didn't just read books by Scots, even if they're the best books." All the best
All
books
right. Well,
written
now I'm
by
going to
Scott.
search that up. How to Kill an Academy.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but he's just Mrs. B'Elanna. And he's like,
Yeah.
Scotty's, and Sodder's like, boo, because she's just a young ensign. And Scotty's like, of course you do, you daft man. You're in love. Now let's get pissed. And they clink their glasses, and they're all just getting hammered away in there.
So here's a sidebar.
Yep,
in the tradition of these comic books. Haruki Murakami is a Japanese writer. His novels, essays, and short stories have been bestsellers in Japan and internationally. His works translated into 50 languages at least. Influenced by Kafka, Mishima, Kenzaburo Oe, Natsume Soseki, and more. He's a novel writer. Yeah.
Interesting.
Current. He's 74
Kafka is gay,
years
so
old.
like maybe some a little bit of a sci-fi body horror type thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Apparently his books have a real quality of being, as they call it, unputdownable. They'll cause you sleepless nights to read them. Hey, Sam! Live long and prosper.
Indeed. So then we have Cisco and Cassidy talking, and this is where Cisco's kind of like getting a little sick of this Prophets and Prophets in general. He's just like, I promise you, Cassidy, I will not let them take me away from you guys again. Like, once this mission's done, he says, like, that's it. He's like, I'm a family guy. I'm not going back to the Celestial Temple.
Cisco
I'm not going on another mission.
Done.
Yeah. Well, that might be the Picard adage more than Cisco. Well, no, because he doesn't even have it once it's done. He has no plan afterwards. So he's just mission. Let's go.
Like, I just need
I just need a mission.
Give me a ship, my kingdom for a ship.
Yep. Kingdom for a ship. So then we got the baseball game going on, and we got Data and Beverly and Quarks, and we got Shax working out. And Sato and Scotty and Paris are still getting drunk. And Talier's sitting there sad. What's going on with Talir? Something's going on there. And then looks Vic's singing some tunes.
Ooh.
Vic's, yep. And they get to Cardassia. And it's being attacked by Cardassian ships. And some bug ships as well. But yeah, Cardassia is being attacked by Cardassians when they get there.
That's not good.
And then this is interesting because it's another sidebar, and it's the war record of Benjamin Sisko.
Oh, yeah.
So as the first officer of the Saratoga, he was at Wolf 359, Borg Incursion, defeat. It's in red. He lost that battle. And then we have, as the commander of Deep Space Nine, he fought in the first battle of Deep Space Nine, which was the Klingon invasion. He won. Then the second battle of Deep Space Nine, the Dominion War, he lost. Then as captain of the USS Defiant, there was the Battle of Solia 2 during the Dominion War. He lost. Battle of Al-Kalhul, Dominion War, he lost. Battle of Kortos 7, Dominion War, he lost. Battle of Halcyon, Dominion War, he lost. Remember that when they were just like, we're sick of this. We're just losing, retreating. Like, it was that time. And then finally a win, the Operation Return, and during the Dominion War, where they take the station back. So he wins the big ones, but he loses a lot of battles too. And then as the offensive commander of the first Allied fleet, the first Battle of Chintaka, they won. And then the second Battle of Chintaka, they lost. And then the final one, the invasion of Cardassia, which they won, of course. And then
that's the character of that war, right? Like it is a victory, but it's as close to a Pyrrhic victory as you ever want to.
Oh yeah, like look at all this red.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they're grinding their way to success in this war. Yeah, that's what they were doing more than anything else. They just had to stick it out to get the wins, you know.
Yep. So they have a historical note here. Benjamin Sisko is the single most decorated Starfleet officer in history at this point, narrowly beating the record set by 23rd century Klingon war hero and later rogue despot Garth of Izar. He is renowned specifically for his expertise in the military tactics of the former Cardassian Union. In diplomatic advisory, Cisco is a commonly utilized expletive in Cardassian youth culture and should be avoided by the president of Cardassia.
What the Cisco?
They've turned on him. Like Cardassians, they see him as this bringer of Cardassian death, which will come up here shortly. And then we have Shax. He's like 15 ships in the invasion fleet. Dominion war relics are opening, like, because there's some bug ships there as well. So yeah, this is a good one. He's just like, Mr. Paris, did you do your homework? This is what Cisco says. He's like, the whole Defiant pattern library's been uploaded, and I threw a few little tricks of my own in there, a little Delta Quadrant spice for you. He's like, well then, Helm, attack pattern Omega. Cisco loves attack pattern Omega. He uses that one a lot. And here we get to see it. Look at that. Theseus bobbing, weaving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Shax is just laughing. Captain, they're retreating. He's having a great time. And Sadler's like, yes, take that, space fascists. I love this crew. They're so much fun.
Oh, man.
And then after attack pattern Omega, Scotty touches the engine and he says, rest now, girl. You did good. And now they get an invitation from the surface of Cardassia. Someone called the First Speaker wants to talk to them and is sending them coordinates. So they beam down. And it's not rubble like they were expecting. It's well rebuilt and everything's looking good. No threats, Shax says. Or threat assessment is minimal, he says. And then you just hear Benjamin Cisco return.
That's pretty
at
fast.
Last.
After like 3 years later, that's pretty fast to rebuild to that extent. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know if they're just like concentrating on this area or what, but even like their whole society now.
But I suppose if you're going to bring somebody down, you bring them down to the part you fixed up the most, right? That's fair enough.
Yeah,
I want to make a good impression.
Like they're calling their entire society the Cardassian Reclamation. They're not the Cardassian Union. They're nothing like that. They're called the Cardassian Reclamation. And we have a Barada Damar. First speaker of the Cardassian Reclamation. And I remember exactly how many Cardassians you killed, he says. Ooh. Then he says, activate the pain field.
Pain field?
Yep, they got Cisco in a pain field. Not good,
That's not good.
Nope. Sad was like, whoa, did he say pain field? Whoa, and then it goes off. She's like, what? And then we're going to get Justice. He says, Captain Cisco and 800, because not all of us walked away from the wreckage of all your actions, Captain. He says, and 800 million Cardassians cry out for justice. Yours is a record of war crimes against my people, and it's time you stood trial. Ooh. That is that. And we get the the Cardassian sort of perspective of the
I'm glad they took my note from our Debate 9 questions. That there's a question about whether Cisco should be tried for war crimes.
Oh, true enough. Well, we weren't thinking by Cardassia.
No, I was thinking about
yeah, I know. We didn't think about that.
And the Federation.
Fair enough.
This is a wonderful twist on that whole thought.
Yeah, it really is. Because we love Cardassian court scenes.
Oh, man.
So
exactly.
Here we go. So Star Trek 8. As soon as I saw this
the
on the shelf,
right there.
I was freaking out. Oh yeah, spoiler alert. But yes.
Well, I mean, that's the main character in any Cardassian court scene, right? Is the advocate a quisling? Is the advocate an arguer? Like, I mean, it's not Enterprise, is it? Where they have the wonderful. No, it's O'Brien's trial.
Yeah,
where he has that. Oh my God, that wonderful old advocate.
Oh,
he
just
so
good.
Wants to lose his last case and retire honorably.
He's like, how many cases do you won? He's just like, I play my part.
I've never won a case.
No.
I'm
not
a
about winning
good
and
loser.
losing. It's about making the people feel good about themselves. It's like, what?
Oh my god. What a
It's so
great
good.
episode. Anyway, yeah.
But,
So here we
Data
are,
shows up.
Cardassian Trials.
Yeah. Yeah. So Data shows up and Cisco's behind bars, obviously. And he says, he's like, what Data? I didn't expect to see you here. He's just like, well, apparently your advocate has some sway. And he tells Cisco that he's going to a place called the Tong Beak Nebula, which the Bajorans call the Grave of the Prophets, to try to find these orbs. And it's complicated because you can't fly through it. The reason it's called the Grave of the Prophets is anything like an engine explodes. So, yeah. It's
oh
risky.
my god, I love this issue so much.
It's good.
Oh,
it's good.
man.
And so is the last one.
I'm trying not to just geek out about spoilers like right now. But
well, we're getting there. I'll try to speed it up.
Oh, I love it so much.
So then the advocate shows up. And who could it be, of course? We already know from the cover. But a plain, simple lawyer.
Rock on. Plain, simple Garrick. Anyway, the dialogue is beautifully Garrick as well.
Well, Cisco, they're like, Data's telling Cisco they should just beam him out of there and get out of here. He's just like, your crew needs you, and there's no point in this is Cardassian justice. There's no point to this. It's like, he's just like, no.
We know where this is going.
Because Cisco feels bad about the deaths too, and he's just like, no, like they deserve to be heard. And he's like, and so do I, which is interesting. So
I really like this piece of Cisco where he's like, no, there's reality,
sure,
and history here. Like, we can't just say it's not real. It didn't happen.
Of all,
I really love that about Cisco as the emissary.
He might take on most responsibility for his actions. Like,
I mean, it's extremely Starfleet too. You know?
Yeah.
It's like we can't just say we're not part of all this.
So then, like, when Cisco sees Garrick, he smiles and he's just like, "Is that a smile in your voice, Captain? I can't imagine why." He's just like, happy to see a friendly face. And Garrick says, "You know better than most, Captain. The friendliest face can be the most deceptive." And then he says, "Incidentally, I know Starfleet types love a good prison break, but I'd refrain. Our prisons are top notch. If you teleport them out, it'll result in a very painful death." Data's like, our systems can compensate. Garrick's like, with 100% certainty. How impressive. Garrick's great. But he's just like, no,
does not even back down in front of an android.
No,
so you think you've got the angles, android, but you don't.
He'd have super fun with Data. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. If he'd had him on Empok Nor instead of O'Brien, can you imagine the hunt he would have led there? Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But then he says, like, the whole Cardassian Reclamation is buzzing, and they're kind of crying out for Cisco's demise. You know, like he's a swear word among the youth. And Garrick says, you know, it's a Cardassian. What did he say? There's nothing more than Cardassia likes more than a good trial, and there's nothing I love more than spoiling one with a little actual justice. Is what he's just
ever the contrarian wherever he is, you know.
Oh yeah,
it's wonderful.
It's so great. It's the best.
It's like I'm always going to find a way to stick it to somebody.
But then he talks about this nephew of Legate Damar. So he's just like, once Damar was found out to be a traitor to the Dominion, they killed his entire lot.
When I first heard this name, not having read issues out, I'm like, he doesn't have a son. His entire family was slaughtered at La Carna City or whatever it was.
Yeah. And even his extended family, the only
like the whole, like he was the only survivor
of the entire line.
Yeah. So this Barada Damar is the last Damar.
Last Damar, definitely.
Like, for sure.
But regardless of that, Garrick seems to have a little bit of faith in him. Like, not is like he says he's not irrational. He's a reformer, and he Garrick believes he's interested in the truth over a good headline. I mean, that's the best you can expect from Cardassia. So,
But now, interestingly, when I read that line, I thought back to the set of people we hear talked about in A Stitch in Time, in the rebuilding. You know, when he comes out of the basement and he sort of built the shrine, and there are those people in the end, and he says he's a reformer. Well, I mean, he'll still stick a knife in you if he needs to, but that's Cardassian politics. And I mean, Barada Damar, I feel like he has that ambiguity. Really,
yeah, they say that.
like,
He says he'll stick a knife in you. No, he says young Damar is carving out his kingdom with knife and blade. So yeah, it's like you nailed it on the head.
He's definitely a Cardassian politician, you know. But I mean, their politics seems to rely on that and to prize it, even to admire it in some ways.
So then we're back on the bridge of the Theseus, and Beverly has a hilarious line. She's like, "So the grave of the prophets, pretty ominous name considering the prophets have yet to die." And then Sato mentions that in Bajoran, of the is actually possessive, meaning the translation is more like grave of the prophet's enemies.
Yeah, it's like an objective genitive. It's not like the grave of the prophets in their grave. It's like fear of the storm, the grave of the prophets.
Yeah. The prophets where people send people to their grave, like the
exactly.
Grave.
Yeah. I love the objective genitive is one of my favorite grammatical constructions, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. So
I can say
they're like,
that's philosophy.
It was supposed to be a Jem'Hadar cloning facility during the war, Data says, and Shax is just like, no, it's a Dominion psyop to lure ships into the exact situation we're flying into. They were just like sucking people into this nebula, thinking it was a.
I mean, it's pretty smart.
Yeah, it is. And then Tom's like, so you just want me to fly in there with engines off because using engines will make us explode? Cool. And Shax is like, what if you launch the ship like a Katarian javelin? And Tom's just like, not if I can't see the target, big guy. And then Jake smiles, and he's just like, I have an idea.
So good!
Yes, so good.
One of my favorite episodes of DS9. Look at that!
They give the solar sails to the sea Theseus. So good.
They light ship it up, good. Man. It's so cool.
And look at Paris. He's so happy. He's like, maximum sail.
I know. I love it that they decide to install a ship where it's like sometimes the aesthetics really kind of make it live. I forget what the line is, but it's wonderful, right? Like sometimes it's not about just pure functionality.
Oh yeah, there is a line like that, isn't it?
He really, that moment with Tom Paris made me think about the Matt Fraction Hawkeye.
Oh, sometimes the best things in life aren't necessary, he says.
Yeah, exactly. It just kept making me think of that Hawkeye run where he's like, I'm great at boats.
Yeah, exactly. I'm great at boats. Because they're like, why do we have to put in this like antique steering mechanism? I'm pretty sure the Elcars can be transferred over. He's just like, no. Tom wants this.
Look at him, he's like,
he's like, this is so much better. So then here we are in court, and we have this old Vorta, who doesn't really look like a Vorta. The art's a little weird.
I found it's just the ear segments that really have any resemblance.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was like, what is a human doing trying him here?
Yeah,
at first, but then it was like, no, they're Vorta ears.
The ears are there.
Yeah. Everything else just looks like an elderly person.
But what we see is there's this Jem'Hadar and a Vorta who are working with the Cardassians now, and they're considered like treasured advisors. But they call Sisko the man, or this guy does, the man who let Cardassia burn. And then we have the Obsidian Order's record of Benjamin Sisko. So it's like so much different than the Starfleet version, which we just read. So this one, first officer of the USS Saratoga. Wolf 359 defeat. Federation casualties 11,000. Now, Commander Deep Space Nine. First Battle of Deep Space Nine. Cardassian casualties 125. Second Battle of Deep Space Nine. Cardassian casualties approximately 2,000. As Captain of the Defiant. The Battle of Solia. Cardassian casualties 1,534. Battle of Al Kahul. Cardassian casualties approximately 1,000. And then it keeps going down. But really, the two big ones are the Second Battle of Chintaka, Cardassian casualties of 77,750. And, of course, the invasion of Cardassia, because the Lady Changelings just, like, start killing everybody. She tells them to start killing all the Cardassians.
Everything.
Yeah. So there were 834 million Cardassian casualties at the invasion of Cardassia. Yeah. So you can see why there's a lot of hurt here.
That's worse than Earth in the Third World War for them.
Yeah. Like one of the worst things we've ever heard of in Star Trek as far as casualties. Like, have we heard of anything worse than
like
that?
The explosion of Praxis. And
it was just like a moon.
The Romulan star would have maybe been the only other closest catastrophes, right?
Yeah, maybe. Well, this is interesting here. So they end up calling on. Well, is there anything I want to see before that? Well, it's interesting that Garrick is just saying that if we punish Sisko, who only did what any Cardassian would do, then it will just prove to the galaxy that we are no more than what we have ever seemed to be. That's what Garrick says. And and he's like, I'm not going to take ethics lessons from a Vorta. And the Vorta is just like, nah, but my line of like Vorta just grew tubers. And that's all he's like, that's all Dominion would ever let me be, he said. So now he feels like he has this kind of second lease on life. And then he says, call your witnesses. And he brings 30 witnesses. 30. And they're all just like, they're not even witnesses. They're just like victim impact statements. So they just bring in like 30 different people to cry about how like their relatives are dead.
And victim impact statements are valuable, but they're not precisely pertinent in this case to whether Benjamin Sisko was responsible for those deaths. The impact can't be denied, but like that's what stuck out to me about that page. I was like, this is all just like these people they have anger. It feels like it's misplaced by some sort of confused tradition that it was Sisko that initiated the bombing, as opposed to the Dominion and that changeling. But like it just seemed so out of touch with whatever was going on. I was really intrigued by this page because like clearly you can see the sort of rhetorical press they're making, but none of this has really anything to do with whether Sisko himself is responsible for it.
Like they even have one.
That's why I was like, what is really happening in this trial at this point?
Yeah.
Like, what is this actually turning on?
Everyone knows humans feel nothing. One of them just says. And then this one guy just goes, the tyrant Dukat called him friend. And the very next guy goes, he killed the great Dukat.
Yes. Yes. There's like so mixed
opinions on Dukat.
Right? Like it's quite an interesting spectrum of Cardassian opinions in that way too, right? Yeah.
So then Garrick's like, the defense would like to call its first witness, and the advocate or the judge just says, you get one.
Yeah.
And he's like, Your Honor, the prosecution got 30. And the judge is like, and you get one. Consider it a gift. And Garrick's like, yes, of course. Thank you, Your Honor. Then without further ado, I call your Jem'Hadar to the stand. Which is just crazy to left field.
I like it.
The guy's just like, objection. And I love how the Jem'Hadar's name is Zero. He's not first. He's not second. He's just a zero. So they're like, no.
Like he's not anything of anything. Yeah.
No. But he wants to speak to the Jem'Hadar. So he's like, why do you call yourself Zero? Like, don't Jem'Hadar have way longer names than that? He's just like, yes, but I am no longer loyal, and neither is Yor to the Dominion. So why would I be loyal to the name they gave me? The Carrick, the Dominion, may they rest in desolation and obscurity.
No, how do you really feel about him, Garrick?
Yeah, it's pretty great. So he asks the Jem'Hadar, how many Cardassians did you kill on the day of the invasion? And the Jem'Hadar says, none. And Garrick's like, none, even though you were ordered to do so. You were supposed to kill every Cardassian alive. What allowed you to dare defy your masters? And he looks at Sisko, the Jem'Hadar, and he says, it was him. He says, by the time my kind were born, we were already enslaved, addicted to a drug, of course, and our lives were nothing without the white. And then I heard, but when the Vorta weren't listening, Jem'Hadar would tell stories of Garanagar, who learned to live without white. And these are all great references to great DS9 episodes, too. Of a Tekkalan, who saw the fallibility of the founders, and of Ixtanarax, who learned the ways of mercy. And behind the heroes of all those stories, there was one man. He was our greatest enemy. More honored elders fell to his war fleet than any being the Dominion had ever faced.
Any
Captain
being. I like that.
Yeah. But Captain Benjamin Sisko did not seek our death. He sought our redemption. So they have this great respect for Sisko, the Jem'Hadar, because he didn't. And like that kept happening. Like Sisko sort of could always meet Jem'Hadar on this level where they would like talk to him almost like friendly. And
yeah,
no one else could really do that, but he did that with like not Garanagar. That was on the planet with
that was with
Miles and Bashir. But there was other two. Yeah, very interesting.
Those are.
And then of course
oh man,
yeah, oh they are. And then the victims are like, no, he has to pay death to the accused. And this was like, tell me that wasn't your big idea. Garrick's like, the crowd usually loves a character witness. he's like, in my experience, Cardassian crowds just love a good hanging. And Garrick's like, true. And this trial may have been slightly more old-fashioned than I'd assumed. he's like
no remorse there at all.
No, he's like, you told me to trust you. Garrick's like, I know this is really rather embarrassing, but if it's any consolation, I've never been terribly trustworthy. This is a great side page too, where it's just Data talking to Spot.
Oh my god, this conversation is so good.
It's so funny. He's telling Spot about all this stuff about the missions and Sisko and all this stuff that's like
unintelligible
about his job.
Noise.
Yeah, unintelligible feline vocalization. But Data always answers him before going on about his like work stuff. He's just like, yes, Spot, your belly is extremely soft. But he's like, regardless, within this context, rubbing your fur does not bring the consolation it normally provides.
You're not doing it right then.
Yeah, seriously. It's like at the end, he's just like, oh yeah, Spot, in your enthusiasm, you have activated the personal log recording device. This was unhelpful of you. Because that's why we're getting
I like it that he has no idea this recording is being made.
No, it's so funny. And then he's just like, he's just like, I know you are not sorry, and yet I love you anyway. Emotions are curious things. Now eat your dinner, please. I need it on the bridge. And then Data walks onto the bridge. It's hilarious. He's like, I know you are not sorry. So good.
I could just see my cat Cal sitting on the kitchen in my old apartment. The kitchen table. It was a long hallway. And I'd look down and he'd be sitting on there licking the butter dish. And I'd see him, I'd go, Cal! And I'd start down the hallway at him. And he'd just speed up until I
get it into you.
That I was about to catch him, and then he'd hop off the table and juke me and get away. And I was like, oh, freaking cat. Oh, I loved him anyway, but my God, they're just... Anyway, yeah.
Speaking of love, Tom has not taken that look off his face.
No, he's still like, ah.
This is like, yeah, wheels. We actually get steering wheels. This is amazing. He always says how he just hates like pushing buttons. He's like, it's not fun riding anything if you're just pushing buttons. So good. So there they are. They're up at this nebula now, of course, because they went in with their sail, and they did find there's a station in there.
Yeah.
A dark station, of course, because there's no. Yeah, you can't use any big power source or anything.
No.
So they're Shax is just so. Oh, I love it. So they beam into this place, and it's like pretty big, and Beverly's like, "My God, look at this place! It's endless." And Shax is just like, "Cardassian greed knows no bounds." They just build big things, unnecessarily big, and everything. It's awful.
Stupid Cardassians.
Yeah, but then of course the red path come running out, but it's not just Klingons. We have a Cardassian.
No, there's Cardassians in there.
Yeah,
yeah, and they got Batleths.
Yep.
It's a whole mishmash of crazy.
It really is. So that was those two issues. Your thoughts on those two?
We end on a real dun 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 kind of moment there. I mean, I love it that it's taking us out to another one of these Cardassian stations. This is it's a sort of an Empok Nor story, which is kind of why I mentioned it before. We're heading into one of those stories about a wild Cardassian station out in the middle of nowhere, where literally anything could happen, because the Cardassians literally just up and leave when they're done with the thing. They do not give a crap. Space is big. Yeah, they leave it behind.
They're very wasteful. Cardassian greed, waste knows no bounds.
No bounds. But like I love the parallels in these issues with the questions of whether whose interests the prophets are really pursuing, which is an abiding theme in DS9. You know, are the prophets really gods? Are they just pushing things around for some indiscernible reason, like a Q would? Are they just wormhole aliens, etc.? But you know, the other side of this, which has been slightly submerged these last two issues, is the problem of Kahless, right? Who's running around with this massive weapon fired by this insane power source, the orb of destruction. That is both clear proof that somebody like the prophets is out there, but also it seems a total desecration of that whole order of beings. So I loved it in that sense when the Jem'Hadar said that Sisko is the only being who has defeated their war fleets in this fashion, right? Like he's just like, he's a force of nature to them.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
These two issues really work for me.
Yeah.
My two favorites. I know you didn't get to read 7, but they were my two favorites of that run.
I really liked what I saw of it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. 7 looked pretty great stuff. So this story's firing on all cylinders. Now we move to Defiant number 3, written by Christopher Cantwell, art by Angel Unzueta.
Oh, I really like the art of this.
Yeah, we got a lot of Orions, which is interesting.
Oh, this is my favorite issue of the whole crop, to be honest.
Oh, really? Okay, sweet.
The narration story that goes through this.
Yeah, it's
really, it really works.
They're just weaving this tale about a Gorn and an Orion family.
Yeah.
And this Gorn killed this Orion, and then every member of his family, one by one, would like go on a revenge mission to try to kill this Gorn, and one by one, this Gorn would keep killing them. And I won't spoil how that story ends until the end of this issue here, but that's the story that's being told amongst all the Star Trek-y things that are happening.
It's brilliant. Oh man,
I had a feeling you'd love this issue, actually.
Oh man, this is totally my kind of story. It has kind of a noir feel to it, almost, you know, like that narration over the whole thing, you know.
And the art too, the way they draw it, actually, they do a lot of grays and stuff. Like, look at this page, like it's a lot of So Spock's kind of running things on the Defiant, and awesome. Spock on the bridge of the Defiant. Anyway, this is awesome. And he's trying to fix things, and he's saying how he needs to go into this part of the ship that's, overrun with radioactive gas again, just like on at the end of
Oh
Wrath
yeah,
of
that's
Khan.
right. He's like,
They're like, you can't do that. He's
pretty
just
sure
like,
personal experience speaks to this in my case at one point. I love that. If you look at my record, you'll know I have experience with this.
Yeah. Just go find me in a little tube, and I'll be younger, and we'll be fine.
Exactly. Just fire me off to the Genesis planet. It's fine.
You have to have a search for Spock for me.
Yeah.
So now this is interesting because this next page ties into a recent Strange New Worlds episode and something that was first posited in that episode, which is that Gorn hatchlings have this venom and like can spread more hatchling eggs. Like Strange New Worlds turned the Gorn into the xenomorphs from Aliens, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think is a bit kind of overused. Like every alien seems to be that these days, but like whatever. I mean, it adds threat to the Gorn.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another side panel here, and it's a transmission to the Romulan. I don't know if they're the High Council anymore. No, attention to Tal Shiar Regional Prefect. Yeah, and it's from Selah, and she wants a warbird. She's just chasing these guys.
She's like stuck on tariff and taxes duty, right? She's like looking at the cargo of trade ships, I think, at this point.
And she's like, I know it just sounds like I'm like paranoid and these are all delusions, but no, she's like, it's real.
It's really happening. No. Yeah. You get to see her not helping herself at all.
No. And then there's this big ship, which is interesting. That is an interesting big Orion ship there. So
now, is that a design we've seen at all, like in Enterprise or anything? I'm not sure we've seen that design of Orion ship at all before.
I don't know that we've seen Orion ships.
Because the only place we would have been likely to see him would have been Enterprise, I would think.
Yeah, and I don't think we did.
There's an episode of TOS, but they were real canny about not showing spaceships as much as we could.
True. So Ro and B'Elanna are fighting because they're like, I'm more Maquis than you. And you're like, no, you're not. You suck. Mm-hmm. They're just fighting. But then there was kind of like a slight ruse because it just allowed them to get the jump on the Orions that had guns to them and whatnot. Though I still don't think they like each other.
I feel like I meant every word I said.
Yeah. It was part of the plan.
They're such jerks to each other.
Oh, yeah.
But you can see the scars that, like, the end of the Maquis during the Cardassian War really left with these characters.
Rose says something like, yeah, you're from the Delta Quadrant chapter of the Maquis. How was the fight going over in the Delta Quadrant? She's just like... And Rose like, I was getting shot at by like Cardassians when you were still wondering like if you want lemonade or like
or like Klingon blood wine or something, right? Yeah. It was she's brutal to B'Elanna.
And then they're about to Rose pretty funny though. Then in an attempt to save Ro, Worf takes a shot from an Orion phaser. And then they knock out those Orions, but Worf took it good. It's not looking good. But then this mysterious Orion comes up and claims she can help
one that's been telling us this story the whole time.
Yeah.
As it turns out.
Yes. So she's like, I'm going to give them that the blood of Kahless stuff all the red path guys are hopped up on. They're like, no, don't give them that. She's like, relax. It's just Klingon adrenaline.
Yeah.
She's like, I still don't trust you.
Adrenaline. We were talking about this before we came on air. And thinking about I mean, the stress it puts on his system.
Yeah.
How long are any of these red path cultists, if they're, as we've seen in the last issue, Cardassians or whatever, how long are they for this world? Like, you shot that into a human, their head's just going to explode.
Yeah.
Or like their adrenal system or their heart's going to collapse or something, right? Like Klingon physiology can barely handle this stuff.
Yeah, like, well, now that we know what it is, now look at this Cardassian's face. He's definitely hopped up on the Klingon adrenaline.
Right? He's like,
Yeah. It's like, I feel so powerful.
He's on like the
and,
space
and a
bath
desire
salts.
to eat sparkly worms.
Yes, sparkly worm.
And then they do. Because Delana's like, I don't trust you, so this Orion just shoots like 3 other Orions. She's like, well, now you do trust me? She's like, okay, do it. They give Worf the adrenaline,
Murder.
and his
Murder
eyes
makes you
shoot
trustworthy.
open. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
Murder makes me trustworthy.
I love
Worf's
that. I love that. Yeah,
And then
don't get in Worf's way now.
The Tal Shiar get back to Sayla, but it's just like scrambled and unintelligible at times. But clearly something's going on. She hears screaming, and then they're just like, it's too late. Horvat is blah blah blah.
And this is from the
blah, blah, blah,
Calgon sector or wherever it is, right?
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on there. Probably Gorn, but I guess we'll see.
Who knows? I mean, for all we, I mean, this could be Kalis, this could be Gorn. It's hard to tell at this point, right? Because we've kind of lost track of Kalis the last few issues. He's just been kind of going along his path, and all we know is
Worf's chasing him. But yeah,
that's
all we know. So Spock's working to try to save the Defiant because they were able to shoot through the Defiant's cloak.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know how they're able to do that. So Spock goes for a little helping hand here. And he's just like, I will now lay out some very important ground rules. You will do as I say. You will do only as I say. And Lore, of course, Lore's head, who we have there.
I love his response in the end.
Right, no problem. How many minutes before the ship explodes again?
All it'll cost you is an arm and a leg.
yeah. All it cost you was an arm and a leg. Yeah. Now you've got your helping hand, and
the whole time we have this this narrative questioning from Spock going on about the character of Logic in a context of madness, which I find brilliant, right? Because he knows Lore is not compass
trustworthy
best of time
at all,
right?
Yeah,
like Lore has emotional disturbances that make him difficult to predict, to handle, or to trust from moment to moment. But yet he's like, I literally need more hands and bodies than I have right now. And you can do this as fast as Data could. And he knows Data. He knows what Data can do, right? They spent a long time together going out to Romulus. So I thought it was a really lovely moment. He's like, there's a perfectly reasonable critique of my thinking here that says, you've lost your damn mind, Spock. And it's like, and there's good reason to say that from looking at it from the outside. All I can say from the inside is that this is the thing I hope works. And I'm not confident it will.
Yeah. So, but this is also the point in this issue where the story that's being told about the Gorn and the Orions gets to the point where the last person in that Orion family to go to try to kill this Gorn was named Neva. And everyone assumed Neva would meet the same grisly end.
Yes.
But Neva befriended this Gorn and wanted to end the truce. So they spent years together. And then on his deathbed, he gave everything to Neva. And as she was the only one there next to him at his deathbed, she says, I won. And then stabs him in the throat and watches him die.
What a great Orion story.
Or as we call them, heist tales.
Right? That's what we used to go to bedtime with. Or we call it wakefulness heist period.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh man, it's a great story. Oh, it's really well put together. I'm really curious about what this Orion character is going to be like in the following issues.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It'd
be cool if it were Tendi, because we don't have the character's name yet.
It's not Tendi though.
No, she'd be in
Definitely
Starfleet
not
Academy right
Tendi.
now, I think,
Yeah,
or just graduated.
yeah. And so they find, as they're leaving, they find that there's what is it? It's like something explosive. Oh, trilithium.
Oh yeah,
So Blonde is like, we gotta take it. And Rose like, you mean steal it? She's just like, well, we're not gonna leave like the Orions with all this trilithium, because trilithium they could blow up a star if they wanted.
yeah.
And Worf's like, she has a point. Take the a.k.a. trilithium and let's go. He's like freaking. Like,
He's just like
this
so
adrenaline.
hopped on this adrenaline.
He's so angry, even by Worf's standards. But he's like dying, so he can't express much anger without dying faster. So it's
yeah, exactly.
And then Ryan jumps out and he's like, haha, a wounded beast. Easy prey to. And Worf just like grabs him by the throat and starts strangling the life out of him. He's just like, tell me all the codes. But he does. It's like,
it's like, okie dokie then.
Yep. He's just like, you got those, Mr. Spock. He's like, indeed. Like,
but you can see where Klingons get their fearsome reputation from, right? He's literally just angry enough to not die yet.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Orion says. Is like, if he passes out, he's dead. So we just have to keep him awake and angry. But that's the thing about Klingons, because they have all those like backup organs and stuff. So if you can keep things going, like
exactly. They'll kind of
they have resiliency. They have like a lot of resilience. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It comes to an end with mostly telling the end of that Orion Gorn story.
Mm-hmm. Great issue.
But then Worf goes to the bridge, and guess who's sitting in the captain's chair with a body?
Yes.
Which we did see in the background in those other shots. There was like an android headless body back there.
Mm-hmm.
But now he has it. And like in this whole thing, this Orion Gorn story was like an allegory for lore.
Yeah.
Because Lore's now feels like he is one.
Absolutely.
So, and he's standing over Worf, who he's knocked unconscious.
Or who has simply fallen down. I can't tell.
Or simply fallen down. Oh, yeah. But he sees him. He's just like, you! And Lore's just like, Captain, I'm so glad you survived. Welcome back, sir. Like, oh, no, Worf does just pass out. And Lore's just like, Captain? So who knows what Worf?
I'm waiting for Lore to turn, really.
Yeah, really.
Like, that guy's never far from a good betrayal.
So that was Defiant number 3. This story is chugging along. That was a great issue.
What a great issue.
Narratively told. Really nice.
Yeah.
So let's move
on. I feel like they're really hitting their stride in these series right now.
Oh, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
God, this is such a fun story. Star Trek comics should be like this all the time. These are some of the best Star Trek comics I've read. And there's been some good ones. Yeah. So this next one, Star Trek Annual 2023, kind of a bit of a fun one. Written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly. Art by Rachel Stott. So we have an interesting cover here where it's got Cisco in an arm lock by Kirk, and we got Picard there, and Giorgio, and you see Janeway, everybody. Pike.
Oh, yeah.
Geez, there's even Chris Pine back there.
Oh, my goodness.
So this story is taking place on the Theseus, and it's about the Theseus and kind of centers around Scotty. And he's saying how everyone else is kind of worn down by like the Dominion War and everything that's been happening. He's like, and so they're all kind of tired and not particularly proactive or energetic. And he's like, but I've spent 60 of the last 70 years sleeping in a pattern buffer, so my breath is plenty caught. And so he's like up all the time and keeping busy. And he's trying to figure out this ship because, as he says, she wants to go, and boldly. Nice shot there of the ship. Nice ship. I like.
Great spread. Yeah. I really do like underslung nacelles. I got to say, I got a soft spot for them.
Yeah, I do too. Underslung nacelles.
Miranda class, all those bits and pieces. Yeah.
Yeah. What else? It was like the like the Akira classes like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like the Thunder Child.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good ships. So then there's like different things going on. There's on the bridge and there's maintenance deck and everyone's doing their thing. But this is where Talir says something strange. And he's like, "Can you hear me in these quiet places? In the static I listen, in the thrum of engines and the snap of converters. I wish that I could hear you, feel the sun of our world, the warmth of your presence. I wonder, am I the last? Please do not let me be the last." So he's not a Romulan. If he thinks he's the last, what is he? If he thinks he's the last one. Like I thought changeling maybe, but he wouldn't be the last changeling.
No,
like
because they've survived the disease, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know what he's the last.
Big mystery.
Yeah.
Big mystery there. So then this is the part I thought you would love a great deal, where instead of playing poker, they're all playing like D&D.
I love
Cisco's
that.
playing D&D. Like
I love that
Data
so much.
has his poker little visor on, but they're just playing D&D. Shax is playing. Beverly's playing.
I think Shax is playing a barbarian, if I recall correctly.
He's Hammer Axe. As Hammer Axe smashes through the door, Dulane. No. Hammer Axe is one of the other ones. Someone else is playing Hammer Axe. So then he is Dulane Silverhand.
Dulane Silverhand.
Shax.
Nice.
He's like, and while Hammer Axe is smashing through the door, Dulane Silverhand will use it as a distraction to steal all the gold.
Oh, he's a rogue.
Yeah. Nice. So Data's like, you don't know that there's any gold, as you have yet to. He's like, the vampire has gold, and it shall be ours. Freaks out Spot. He's smashing the table.
Shax so much.
He's so into this game. He's like, we will get the gold.
We will destroy them.
So Scotty's pouring 2 drinks for himself, which is hilarious. The old Irish handcuffs there. But there's something going on with the computer and he can't quite figure it out. But then he gets a message and a system failure, and it just says, Scotty, we have a problem. Bring help. Jim. Of course, that would only mean one thing to Scotty. So they go to the holodeck, and Cisco's there, the whole crew. They're the main crew. And they're going into the holodeck, and they say it's clearly running, but it says it's not running any programs. But there's clearly stuff going on in there. So they're like, that's a little weird. But Scotty's like, well, it's I got a communication from a name I have not heard in a long time. So, and he's like, oh, you mad lad. He sees Jim Kirk on the bridge of the Enterprise.
Good old holodeck story.
Yep. And he's like, you look grand. And Kirk's like, so do you. He's just like, no, I don't. I look like the ghost of Christmas past. You look like a Hollywood star. Were you always this handsome? Sato's just like, visual scans point to yes.
Sato's got a little Kirk thing. I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But he tells them that there's a malfunction.
Visual scans point to smoke show.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. But then they're sent to different holodeck kind of areas, it seems. Like they're all kind of separated a bit. And like Tom's sitting at the console. It's funny. He's like, my Constitution class colored button 101 is still a little rusty. But I think there's ships incoming. And there was, like, they start getting shot at by all these things. But again, they're on the holodeck.
They're on a bunch of Enterprises, too.
On a bunch of Enterprises, yep. So Cisco, Scotty, and Kirk are on one Enterprise. Sato gets sent to the original, she says. No letters, the original. And
no bloody A, B, C, or D.
Even before that, this is the NX-01. She's on.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Yeah.
Not even a 170 or a 1.
Not even any numbers. Well, a 1.
Well, there's an NX-01, I suppose.
Yeah, there's an NX-01. So there's letters and numbers, technically. So whatever. But then Talir and Data get sent to another Enterprise. No, they get sent to Discovery. and Beverly and Shax get sent to the HMS Enterprise, where like
Oh, that's right.
that the holodeck simulation they used in First Contact. And Tom Paris, much to his delight, gets sent to the Phoenix with old Zeffie Cochran.
Oh, that's right, Zephyr Cochran. Again,
Tom
Paris is like, spaceships!
Yeah, so they're all able to communicate with each other, but they're all on different enterprises. Zeffie's like, nothing like being free, kid. He's like, don't I know it, Dr. Cochran?
Jailbird Tom.
So, Cisco, Kirk and Scotty are on Pike's Enterprise. So what would become Kirk's Enterprise, but when Pike had it, because they get shot by La'an. And but there's these communications that keep happening, because the things that these holograms are saying to them don't seem to make a lot of sense. So Shax is like looking out on the water. He's like, I've never seen so much water. I hate it.
I should fight this.
Yeah, I will fight this water. It's awful. Then we get
he and the first Emperor of China agree.
Indeed. So yeah, we have Riker and Picard there.
Picard and Riker action.
They say a storm's coming in. And then Sato gets to meet her great-great-great-great-grandmother, who she says is kind of hot. She gets to meet the hologram of Hoshi Sato, who we thought that's where the Sato name come from. We weren't sure because she's an Andorian, but yeah, great-great-great-great-grandmother Hoshi Sato. But she's just speaking gibberish, and Sato can't make any sense of it. So, there's Pike. All looking good. All looking good. So then they realize that there's this book that they've found, and it's called Photons Be Free by the Emergency Medical Hologram, Mark I from USS Voyager. And its epilogue says, what you've experienced, dear protagonist, is a work of fiction, but I hope you now understand the struggles of what holograms must endure in a world controlled by organics. And then to his fellow holograms, he has another epilogue where he's just like, don't accept your station, push to be more, and all that sort of thing. Oh. He's like, we are not tools, we are stars, be free. So Tom smiles. He's just like, well, I'll be damned. The doc finally found his audience. Tom's like, I have a copy of this. It's like before, like somebody stole it. Somebody stole it from the doctor and published it from underneath him. So that was a whole
thing. Which is interesting, eh?
Yeah. I think thinking like a hologram can't publish a novel, maybe because it's not sent. Like, who knows? That could have been more
maybe
holographic rights stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what copyright law in the 25th century or 24th century.
So the Kirk keeps saying there's a critical error. There's a critical error, and Scotty's just like, no, Jim, there's not a critical error. This is first contact. So the Theseus, much like the Enterprise in the episode Emergence, has become sentient, but rather than being this individual sentience, which the Enterprise became, the Theseus has split off into several entities that are manifesting themselves as these holograms. So they all have individual. They've come to realize these holograms all have like autonomy and agency, and they're all working individually, separate from each other. So they're like, well, what do we do with that? And then the Kirk one's just like, won't accept it. He's just like, no, there's an error, because he's just very Kirk. He's just like, no, it's not this thing. There's like, these holograms don't need like agency. They need to be taken down. He's like, I can feel it. And that's when he's like, deep in his soul, he says, like, he can feel it. They cannot be allowed to be free. I can barely even think of it. They would be gone, and I would be alone, he says. Yeah. Yep.
So who is Kirk in all of this?
Yeah, really. It's like the conscience of this entity, or like I don't know.
Is he the origin of it? I wonder.
Yeah.
Like,
the
is he the thing that they would all be departing from into their freedom? Like,
so he's kind of like the least evolved or like least
or
aware
maybe
of
just
what
the
he is and where
first.
he
Yeah,
is.
right. Like he's has some kind of difference to the others, though. You're right.
So he says, your mates are trying to tell you it's okay to let go. You have a soul just like them. It's okay to use it to change. And if it's any consolation, lad, the real Jim Kirk had the same damn problem. So then,
It's true. He struggled to let go of the Enterprise.
Yeah,
he struggled to let
let
a
go
lot of
of.
those things. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was the worst at retirement ever. Like even worse than
Well,
Picard.
he struggled to be a father. He struggled to be a lot of things.
People give Worf a lot of shit, but I think Kirk.
Oh my God, Jim Kirk! Come on.
Talk
about a guy who went out for the milk and never came back.
Now, maybe you can tell me this, Dave. Do you recall a planet from TOS or anything called Cirque 5?
Cirque 5.
Yeah, CIRCE 5. That's where they dropped them.
Oh, Circe 5.
Scotty mentions how it's like a familiar place to him. It doesn't
Hmm.
have much of an atmosphere. But that's what they decided to do. They'd actually take all these holographic entities and obviously holographic projectors and leave them on this planet, which doesn't really have much atmosphere, but they're holograms, so don't care, and create their own holographic environments. So that's what they do, and the Kirk one is taking on a leadership role, and that's when Scotty says, "I'm glad they have him. Every intelligent species deserves at least one Jim Kirk."
So that, interestingly,
Okay.
The Circe 5. So this is what fandom says about it. The Circe 5 was a planet located somewhere in the Alpha or Beta Quadrant, fifth planet in orbit of the Circe star system. And the reference here is TOS Year 5 Comics, issue 11,
the Year
12,
5
and
comics.
22.
Oh, it's a comic reference. Fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
So
then they invite Scotty to the D&D table. That's pretty much where it ends. He's like, right, so I'm McLeod Sunstriker, right? He's like, yes,
Duncan
that is your
MacLeod
character, Mr.
of the
Squat.
Clan MacLeod.
A dwarven artificer.
Ooh.
Do you wish for further explanation? He's like, no, it's just if I attack, they might kill me. But if I do nothing, my friends might die. Is that the way of it? And they're like, yeah, you got this, Scotty, Beverly says. And Shaq says, destroy them with your cannons. It's wonderful fun. And then Sisko says, are you sure you don't want to run, Scotty? We'll do our best to survive without you. And he says, like, no, he spent too much time looking back. I think it's high time for him to go, and boldly. He rolls the dice. Yeah. There's a nice Star Trek insignia there. Starfleet badge.
I thought that was a great annual, honestly.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, like, there's let's be honest, right at the bottom of it, there's a high degree of contrivance in the holodeck story. But that is a feature of holodeck stories. They're literally a way to give yourself a free contrivance. Yep, you know, oh, it's a holodeck error. Whoops. And so in that sense, I have nothing against the story. I thought it really worked. It was great fun. I loved centering it in some ways on Scotty as a character who sort of like bridges all of these different periods
as a character. Yeah, I liked it. Maybe not quite as enjoyable as the Countdown to the Day of Blood, which has just been so good, which it's technically a part of. It's all part of the same story.
But I think it's got a different job to do. You know, it's more like a clips show.
But is that going to come back, like this emergent intelligence of the Theseus? And did they leave that entire emergent intelligence on that planet in the form of these holograms, or is there still an emergent intelligence left on the Theseus?
So that'd be interesting to know.
You know,
and did we ever really get an answer about Talir?
Not yet.
Nothing. Like, we just get that little glimpse
where he says he might be the last one, and he hopes he's not the last one. I have no guesses, really. Like, that's what's like. Normally, I'd have guesses.
There's a total mystery so far.
Or maybe he is a Romulan, and no, that would make no sense because this is before the Picard series. Like I say, like maybe he's the last of the Jogbosh or something. Like, or
No, I can't.
makes
No,
no
but you're
sense.
right. Like I can see that
No.
point, but I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't line up.
No.
Yeah, I'm really at a loss as to what he's the last of. But we'll have to see. In any event, these are great issues. I really enjoyed them.
Yep. I hope you all did too, and join us for the second part of the countdown to the Day of Blood, which we'll bring to you shortly. And then we'll get into that very day, the Day of Blood, which Shax has a one-shot like side comic on called
Oh, really?
Called The Day of Blood, Shax's Best Day.
Oh,
of course it's his best day. It's the Day of Blood. He's probably having a great time. He's so crazy.
Oh, I love
just
this
keeps
guy.
It together enough to be a Starfleet officer. Like just
exactly.
But
exactly.
You can find us on
All
Facebook,
right.
YouTube, and Twitch, wherever you get your podcasts. Contact us at locutorsoftrek@gmail.com. Oh, well, we should answer our question. This is all headcanon for me. I'm loving where this story's going.
It's getting much closer to that for me. Like it is approximating headcanon further and further. The further I get into this, the more I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah. And find our audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts, and of course at ufpodcast.com, where we have many podcasts, which we'll just list for you quickly here. Of course, there's our UF podcast logo, very nice, and we have the the Live Long and podcast, which this is a part of this very show, where we have our many divisions. Yep. And we have X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. We have one episode left in our series review before we move on to other things as we wait for the new series to come out. But we will still have weekly shows for you. Don't worry. We're going to review the movies and Wolverine and the X-Men probably. And, of course, interviews, as we've been doing. And speaking of interviews, Graphic Histories podcast. He has an interview coming up with Stephen E. Gordon, one of the animators on Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, among other things.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So Andre loves that. So he's super excited to talk to.
That is like Steven. A phantasmagorical visual adventure. Oh, what great fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So check that out coming in the future. And Hold Up a Movie podcast, where season 2 starts off this coming Wednesday. So we'll be talking about space movies with my cousin Dave. And speaking of cousin Dave, he's one of those Super Mater brothers of the Super Mater Brothers podcast, where they review reality shows and they're reviewing Big Brother and stuff as it goes right now. And of course, Eamon on Track, the son of Mater. He has you should go on that one sometime, Dave. It's a music review. You pick an album and enlighten young Eamon's mind with it, and then chat about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take SMV or Thunder by SMV over there by Marcus Miller, Victor Wooten, Stanley Clark.
Yeah.
For a young bass player, he should listen to that.
Oh yeah, man, that's great.
Sam wants to know if my skeleton moves. Of course, my skeleton moves.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, speaking of scary skeletons, check out the Hellbound podcast with Alex Blackburn and Michael Chan. And Trivial Debates, where we just did one horror edition. And I'm going to do another horror edition hosted by me on October 15th. So we're loving the horror over on Trivial Debates this month.
You got it.
Beware. Quiet, Charlie. I'm trying to wrap up the show. That's Charlie.
He's like Morn. He never shuts up.
He never shuts up. It's true. Beware, he always says. It's like, you know what? How about something positive for a change?
Nevermore.
That's it. That's all our podcasts here at the United Federation. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you. Well, there's only one thing left to say, I suppose.
Yeah, until we see you next time. End transmission.